In Seoul, South Korea, a gangster boss, Hyo, was holding a banquet at a bar. At the meeting, Hyo told everyone his experience when he met Yoon Ji-wook, a detective nicknamed the $6 Million Man, in a sauna. Hyo admitted that he really hated Yoon, and one day he wanted revenge. Outside the bar, Detective Yoon coincidentally came, wanting to visit the bar. When Yoon was about to enter the bar, he was checked by a security guard using a metal detector. Strangely, the metal detector sounds. So it's revealed the reason why Yoon was called the $6 Million Man, because in his body, there were many metal plates attached from surgery for broken bones, and this was due to a fight. Yoon finally passed the inspection, and he was allowed to enter the bar. Inside, Yoon met a woman who was a police informant, Jang Mei. She told Yoon that Hyo was in the VIP room with his men. Turns out, Hyo was the target of the police. Jang Mei gave Yoon a gun, just in case something bad happened to him. After that, Yoon went into the VIP room to arrest Hyo, the fugitive. At dawn, Yoon's job in arresting Hyo was done. He also took Jang Mei home in his car. In front of Jang Mei's house, Yoon paid for Jang Mei's services because she was willing to be the police informant. After taking Jang Mei home, Yoon went to meet his psychiatrist, Dr. Ju. At the clinic, Yoon fell asleep because he came too early. In his sleep, Yoon dreams about his past with Jong Mei, his best friend at junior high school. Yoon woke up from his sleep, seeing that Dr. Ju had arrived. After the consultation with Yoon, Dr. Ju was about to work at a hospital, so she offered Yoon a ride because the police headquarters, where Yoon worked, have the same direction as the hospital where Dr. Ju worked. They then headed to their working place. On the way, Yoon told Dr. Ju that he wanted to resign, and he explained the reason why he wanted to retire early. Turns out, Yoon wanted to be a woman. Yoon said that he had a plan to undergo gender-affirming surgery. So, this is Yoon's true identity. Behind his sturdy appearance, his soul is struggling. That afternoon, it was raining cats and dogs. At the police headquarters, Yoon worked as usual. Yoon's leader, Park, received a call from the police legal advisor, Prosecutor Hong, because the police arrested Hyo last night. Prosecutor Hong was angry because the police acted without a warrant for the arrest. Squad leader Park hung up the call after receiving a warning from Prosecutor Hong. Not long after, Yoon approached Squad leader Park and handed over a resignation letter. Receiving a letter from Yoon, Park was surprised, and of course he allowed Yoon to resign, as long as Yoon was willing to solve one more case, arresting a psychopath named Gang Deol. That night, after getting a new mission from his leader, Yoon met Jang Mei at the bar. Not only working as an informant, Jang Mei also working as a bartender. Yoon visited Jang Mei because he wanted to offer her joining him in a new mission. And of course, Jang Mei was willing to join Yoon in this mission. On the way home, Yoon stopped by the beauty clinic he used to go to. Yoon visited the clinic to undergo hormone injection therapy, so that his body would become smooth. Dr. Jin, the owner of the clinic, was helping Yoon in the therapy process. Dr. Jin gave Yoon advice. If he really intended to have gender-affirming surgery, he could try to meet a transgender named Bada to consult about the cost of the operation. Usually, Bada wanted to meet at church. Meanwhile, Hyo was battered, beaten by Yoon, and now he had to be treated in hospital before undergoing a criminal trial. Leo, Hyo's little brother, came to the hospital. He was so sad seeing his brother dying. After seeing his brother, Leo went home by car. On the way home, Leo received a financial reporting document from Kim, his right-hand man. They lost millions of won because of Hyo being caught by the police. All of Hyo's assets have been confiscated by the police as evidence at the trial, including bonds from the Russian oil company where Leo invested shares. Hearing this bad news, Leo was so annoyed with Yoon, the policeman who had arrested Hyo. Remembering Yoon, Leo remembered the past when his men were beaten by Yoon. In another place, Jang Mei has just finished work and was picked up by Detective Jin Woo, Yoon's colleague. Jang Mei got instructions from Jin Woo regarding her duties in this mission. Jang Mei would be the bait, so the target, Gang Deol, came out of hiding, because it was said that Gang Deol is a psychopath. He likes to attack women in the parking lot. After getting instructions from Jin Woo, Yoon visited Jang Mei, who was getting ready in the car. Yoon told Jang Mei to be careful, because he wanted to go for a moment doing personal matters. Jiang Mei, who had prepared herself, immediately went to the parking lot where Gang Deal usually visited, followed by Detective Jin Woo, who would watch her from a distance. While Yoon was busy with his own business, he went to church, following Dr. Jin's advice to meet Bada. Shortly, Yoon met Bada in the church, then Bada told Yoon about her life background before becoming a transgender. Bada admitted that she was a former Marine. When he heard this story, Yoon was shocked because he was also a Marine in the Navy before moving on to become a police officer. Yoon immediately saluted Bada, whose rank is higher. Yoon started to tell Bada that in the past, he almost committed suicide, feeling trapped in the wrong body. Bada was sad hearing Yoon's story. To cheer him up, Bada invited Yoon to the nightclub, a business that Bada had started since retiring from the Navy. At this club, Yoon was introduced to Dudu, Bada's assistant. There, Dudu taught Yoon how to make up for himself, so after returning from the club, Yoon got the knowledge of making up for himself. That night, he immediately practiced putting on makeup in his apartment. After that, Yoon left the apartment, checking his own mental state with his new appearance. But not long after, suddenly he got news from Detective Jin Woo by call, telling that their mission in arresting Gang Deal was successful. But unfortunately, Jiang Mei was slightly injured in this mission. That's when Yoon realized that he was preoccupied with his personal affairs, so he forgot about the mission. Yoon immediately went to the police station to confirm Jiang Mei's condition. Arriving at the police headquarters, Yoon met Jiang Mei in the medical room, then he apologized to Jiang Mei because he was busy with his personal matters, so he forgot about his duties as a police officer. After apologizing, Yoon left, went to the interrogation room. There, Yoon immediately beat up Gang Deal. After that, Yoon went home, but still thought about Jiang Mei, feeling guilty. At that moment, Yoon remembered the past when he was bullied at school for having a sexual orientation disorder. Yoon was lost in thought, and this brought disaster because Yoon's car hit the road divider, rolled over. Yoon fainted, then was rushed to the hospital. Detective Jin Woo heard that Yoon had an accident, so he immediately went to the hospital. Here, Jin Woo started to get suspicious because he saw many injection marks on Yoon's arm. Jin Woo thought that Yoon was a serious addict. Then after Yoon woke up, Jin Woo took him home by his car. On the way, Jin Woo asked Yoon about the injection marks on his arm. Then Yoon explained that those were vitamin injections, but Jin Woo still didn't believe it. At Yoon's apartment, Leo and his men were breaking in without permission. They were determined to infiltrate, looking for Hyo's bonds, which were confiscated by the police, but their efforts were in vain. Leo didn't find anything. Leo then ordered his men to tidy up Yoon's apartment as before. After cleaning up, Leo told his men to go home first, and when Yoon arrived in front of his apartment, he was shocked because the house lights were on. He thought there must be an intruder, then immediately went into his apartment to check the situation. Yoon saw Leo, his enemy in the past. Yoon entered the apartment and started chatting with Leo. Leo asked if it was true that Yoon wanted to resign from his job as police. If it was true, Leo wanted to offer Yoon a job, if only Yoon wanted to join Leo's gang. Leo also offered a monetary reward if Yoon could return Hyo's bond, which was confiscated by the police. After saying that, Leo left. The next day, at the bar where Jiang Mei works, Detective Jin Woo came to make sure Jiang Mei was doing well. They talked about Yoon, and it was revealed that Jiang Mei had actually had a crush on Yoon for a long time. That night, Yoon visited Bada's nightclub. Yoon talked to Bada, consulting about the cost of gender-affirming surgery. Bada explained the details of the funds needed for the surgery in the United States. It was around $20,000 US. Hearing Bada's explanation that the operation was very expensive, Yoon was confused, so he went home. He was confused about where he could get that much money. Next morning at the hospital, Hyo was visited by Prosecutor Hong. Here, Prosecutor Hong offered a deal to Hyo. If Hyo wanted to get a remission, he should persuade Leo to surrender himself to the police. Yoon also joined the police officials, visited Hyo. He immediately asked for permission to check the Hyo's evidence. During this inspection, Yoon accidentally saw the bond letter that Leo told him about. Yoon remembered the money that Leo had offered if this bond letter was returned, so he intended to steal this bond letter in order to get money for a very expensive gender-affirming surgery. That night at the police station, Yoon returned to work after his visit from the hospital. He saw his colleagues helping him pack his things because he would officially retire tomorrow. After packing up, a farewell party for Yoon was held at a food stall. This was a form of repayment for Yoon's services, which had succeeded in solving many cases. When the party was over, Yoon went home and he saw Jang Me, wet from the rain, waiting for him in front of the apartment. Yoon invited Jang Me to enter his apartment, serving her a cup of tea. They talked, and Jang Me confessed her feelings that she liked Yoon all this time. However, Yoon rejected her because he considered Jang Me as his sister, especially since Jang Me is the younger sister of Jong Me, Yoon's best friend when he was in junior high school. In the end, Yoon was forced to reveal his own disgrace. He said that he and Jong Me liked each other. They both had sexual orientation disorder since teenage years. But one day when they both graduated from junior high school, they separated because Yoon planned to move to Seoul to continue his studies. Jong Me didn't accept Yoon's choice. He was disappointed in Yoon and decided to end his life. Since Jong Me's death, Yoon swore to himself that he would protect Jang Me like his own sister. Jang Me was shocked knowing this fact. She just found out about her brother and Yoon's secret. After telling Jang Me about his past, Yoon took Jang Me home. Next day, surprisingly, Yoon came to the place where Leo and his friends hang out. Yoon came to give news that the bond letter that Leo was referring to had been found. Yoon explained that the bond would be returned by the police after Hyo's criminal trial was over. In exchange for this information, Leo rewarded Yoon with some money transferred to Yoon's account. After that, Yoon said goodbye and left that place. Leo then also went home, but he was suspicious of Yoon, who suddenly wanted to give him information. Not long after, Hyo called Leo, asking him to meet at the hospital. Leo rushed to visit her brother at hospital, and Hyo instead asked him to turn himself into the police so that he could get a remission. Leo refused. He was disappointed in his older brother, who was so selfish. Because of that, their relationship went bad. Leo was hurt, immediately leaving. In the hallway, Leo was still carried away by his anger, and his suspicions about Yoon were increasing. He thought that all of this was because of Yoon, making him targeted by the police. Leo ordered his man to kill anyone who was close to Yoon. At home, Leo was advised by Kim, his trusted man, to just flee abroad before the police caught him. Shortly that night, Leo's men started to kill everyone who was close to Yoon, including those who provoked Hyo asking Leo to surrender to the police. And their first target was Prosecutor Hong. The next day, the police were shocked hearing the news of Prosecutor Hong's death. Squad leader Park went to the hospital, asking Hyo for an explanation. He thought that Hyo was the mastermind behind the murder, but Hyo pretended not to know this matter. He actually baited his own brother, accusing Leo, who was now the fugitive. While Leo's men continued to trace Yoon's acquaintances, they heard news that Yoon often went to Dr. Jin's BB clinic. Arriving at the clinic, Leo's men tortured Dr. Jin, and finally, Dr. Jin was forced to reveal Yoon's secret, that he has wanted to live his life as a woman. Leo's men immediately called their boss, telling him that Yoon had a sexual orientation disorder. Meanwhile, at the hospital, the situation became chaotic because the police were fighting against Leo and his men. In order to seek help from Yoon, Detective Jin Woo tried to find him, but he had moved. But then, Detective Jin Woo visited Dr. Ju, Yoon's psychiatrist. It was very urgent, so Dr. Ju was forced to take Jin Woo to a nightclub where Yoon usually hangs out. When Jin Woo arrived at the club, he was so shocked to see Yoon dressed up like a woman. Jin Woo finally found out about Yoon's secret, which has long been hidden from the world. Yoon was forced to be honest with Jin Woo about the reason he resigned. It was because he wanted to pursue his dream, becoming a woman. Yoon intended to have gender-affirming surgery in the United States, and he planned to leave tomorrow morning. Hearing Yoon's story, Jin Woo was disappointed. Yoon also knew that the police were currently fighting against Leo. Yoon then provided important information. He handed over evidence he kept on his cell phone, proof of money transfer, and a recording of his conversation with Leo about the bonds. The money from Leo could be interpreted as a bribery to the police. Yoon said this evidence was enough to imprison Leo and the gang. Turns out, all this time, Yoon had been pretending to collaborate with Leo just to get this evidence, so that the police would have a strong reason to arrest Leo. But Ji-woon was still devastated, so he decided to leave without wanting to hear Yoon's advice. Jin-woo was disappointed in Yoon, because his reason for resigning from the police force was so ridiculous. Jin-woo then stopped by the bar where Jang Mi worked only to get drunk. Seeing Jin-woo was too drunk, Jang Mi intended to take him home. It happened to be raining heavily, so Jang Mi intended to go back to the bar, took her car key. While Jang Mi was leaving, Jin-woo was careless, then attacked by Leo's men. Jang Mi came back, and she saw Detective Jin-woo was dead. Leo's men knew that Jang Mi was also close to Yoon, so they kidnapped her. The next morning at the airport, Yoon was about to go to the United States to undergo surgery. But he accidentally saw the news which broadcast that his best friend, Detective Jin-woo, had died being killed by gangsters. Then, Yoon got a call from Leo. He told Yoon that Jang Mi was with him, being his hostage. If Yoon wishes Jang Mi to be safe, then he has to turn himself in. Because of that, Yoon cancelled going to the United States and immediately ordered a taxi, heading to Leo's place to save Jang Mi. Arriving at Leo's place, Yoon told the taxi driver to wait for him. After that, Yoon entered the place to save Jang Mi. Shortly, Yoon managed to break into the place, finishing off the gangsters. And finally, he met Leo and even knelt, begging him to let go of Jang Mi. But Leo actually played with Yoon, bullied him because he's a transvestite. As a result, Yoon became emotional and brutally killed Leo in front of his men. When Leo's men saw that their boss was dead, they suddenly changed their minds. Kim chose to make peace with Yoon and let go of Jang Mi. Kim and the others decided to return to join Hyo's side. Even though Yoon was injured, he managed to return to the taxi with Jang Mi, who had passed out. The taxi driver took Yoon and Jang Mi to the hospital, but Yoon looked so sad because he had to give up his dream of becoming a woman. A few months later, Yoon and Jang Mi lived as siblings. That day, they visited the church to inform them about Jang Mi's wedding plans in the near future. In this wedding plan, Yoon would be appointed as a witness for the bride's family. After giving the news to the church, they intended to go back to the car, but Yoon saw Do-do from a distance. Do-do looked at Yoon, disappointed with his decision to be a real man. Yoon greeted Do-do from a distance, then Yoon left with Jang Mi. On the way home, Yoon tried to become a man, kept his beard, and started smoking. But Jang Mi forbade Yoon's bad habit. Jang Mi emphasized to Yoon that to be a real man doesn't have to be a smoker. Yoon continued to learn to improve himself, receiving advice from Jang Mi. This time, Yoon is really determined to be a real man, and he wanted to repent of his deviant orientation.